What's up, strongest men, women, and children from blocks all around the world? I am my block's strongest man. And I figured since I'm grounded here trying to get over the world situation and I'm going to be staring at the screen waiting for World's Strongest Man results to roll in, why not have you sit and stare at the screen with me? Maybe we can have some great comments and some great discussions, and I'll try not to cough too much in your face, or I'll try to just mute while I am coughing. How about that? So far, we do have some results rolling in for the Wrecking Ball hold, which has begun. Today was supposed to start at 8 a.m. Pacific time, which would have been 11 a.m. Eastern time for me, which is 46 minutes ago. So perhaps they started close to regular time because Group 1 results seem to all be in. So let's have a look. I'm going to look at Strongman Archives instead of the World's Strongest Man live results website because I don't know if they want me sharing that on YouTube, and I know my buddy LY is okay with me sharing Strongman Archives. In fact, if I haven't said it before, I know I have, but when you're on Strongman Archives, scroll down to the bottom, there's a donate button, give them a couple bucks. I mean, look at all this data that they're putting together for us. Click the button, give what you can, they do deserve it. So, Wrecking Ball hold, let's see. So it looks like Kevin Ferris with an incredible 95.18 seconds. So I just was trying to guess in my mind what guys would do here. I was thinking maybe a minute, 70 seconds would be a good time, something like that. 95 blows my mind. I never expected anybody to be able to hold that for 95 seconds. I think Mitch Hooper mentioned that it's 500 pounds, so it's not that heavy, but the way that they're holding it is different. So I had heard first that they had to hold it kind of like a deadlift hold, but not against the legs or any part of the body, kind of out in front of you without touching any other part of the body. Then I thought I heard Mitchell Hooper say it's being held between the legs, like, I don't know, kind of like Dinny stones almost, where you have an arm in front and an arm in back, but in this case, a bar connecting the two. So it'll be interesting to see some photos and see, if anybody's showing what they're actually doing here. But 95.18 seconds, spectacular. Even Andy Black here coming away with 5 points in Group 1, 86.92 seconds for him. So that's, still what, 9 seconds off from Kevin Ferris, but still an incredible time for Andy Black, especially given he was a last minute entry into World's Strongest Man when Paul Dwyer pulled out with that. I believe it was a recurring nagging shoulder injury that was uncovered when he went through the battery of testing that is available through the medical staff at World's Strongest Man. So it looks like 4 points went to Gabriel Rayom, who continues to really, I don't want to say overachieve, but none of the data said that he would be at this position at this point in the show. And 84.1 seconds, Gabriel really, if you looked at him in the Shaw Classic, he was all right, but he wasn't this level. And very happy to see how well he's doing. Very impressive. So 4 points for Gabriel Rayom. And Strongman Archives is not listing him as eliminated, so it looks like Gabriel's in the stone off. And amazingly, the person with more experience here at Worlds, Ivar Schmockstellis, is eliminated. So that's quite a turn of events. If I look through the data and see what that had predicted, I think I didn't have Ivar's making it through anyway, but I believe I did have him in a stone off against Kevin Ferris. So, interesting. 4 points to Gabriel Rayom, 5 points to Andy Black. And then we have Ivar Schmockstellis, it looks like came away with only 2 points. 57.44 seconds doesn't sound like a bad time, but in this crop of athletes, not good enough. 2 points for Ivar's and just didn't make it. So, I mean, if you look at the totals, he ends up with 15 points. It was too far off from Gabriel Rayom to say if he had done better here, he would have gotten it, because Gabriel beat him by 2 points and he's 5 points off from Gabriel Rayom. So even if Ivar's had won this event, let's say, he'd be at 19 points total, which is still not good enough to get him in the stone off. And then we have Manuel Angulo, who came away with 3 points here. So it's great. So Manuel was the one where he performed at OSG Masters last year, and he's known as the Chilean Mountain. He's from Chile, and he was on my show recently. So if you haven't caught that interview, you should. It was very interesting. He came on with Diego Valenzuela, and we had a great time having a bilingual discussion together. So Manuel was getting last place in everything, right? He had gotten 1 point in everything. So very great to see that, he didn't come in last here. Now, that being said, very likely Tom Stoltman got 1 point because he knew he didn't have to do much. He was far enough ahead in points wise because he had won every other event that he very likely just picked it up for a few seconds and put it down. That's what I'm guessing. I'm guessing Mitchell Hooper is going to do the same thing because he's up by enough points. So you can't say Manuel legitimately actually beat Tom Stoltman. That's very likely not the case, but it seems like he legitimately beat Ivar Smokstelis, and that's saying something. He actually beat him by quite a lot. And when Manuel was on my show, he and Diego were telling me about his grip being very good, and 71.66 seconds is a very, very good time. Granted, again, if this is indeed a 500-pound weight, it's not a lot for these guys, but it is a different type of hold. And that's a long time to rely strictly on grip without straps or anything like that. So great job by Manuel. And so we'll keep watching the screen and wait until Group 2 results start rolling in. We're about 50 minutes past when the start time was scheduled for World's Strongest Man Day 3. As you can see, it's right here, schedule of events. So it was scheduled at 8 a.m. Pacific time, local time in Sacramento, which would have been 11 a.m. Eastern time where I am, and you can sort of do the math from there. Would have been 4 p.m. UK time, I believe. So that's when it was scheduled to go. So I'm assuming that Group 2 will be coming out soon. So we'll keep an eye on the screen and see what happens here. That being said, quick apologies for my camera. My good camera wasn't working today for some reason. It was glitchy. So I might look a little bit more like Claymation today. This is my integrated laptop's camera, which isn't great. I can actually probably show you the good one. You'll see it's glitchy, but it's much better quality. So we'll switch. So as you can see there, it's glitching. See, it's glitching, but it's a far better resolution and true to life color. So I'll go back and switch to the poorer camera for now, and we'll have to figure out what's going on with that. But hopefully it doesn't matter because the majority of the screen is the results and not my ugly face, and so it doesn't matter. Shoot me over your comments about what you think of what's going on with the Wrecking Ball hold so far today while we're here, and let's have a lively discussion about it. In the meantime, I'm going to go dig through some of these guys' Instagrams and see if we have any pictures anywhere. Check out Stoltman. No, nothing from today. Check Ivar's. Nope, that's yes. This is a great photo, but this is yesterday's. Well, yeah, there you go. Here's a Wrecking Ball hold photo. So I guess that's Eddie Hall helping them to get it set up, is what it looks like to me. Interesting. What is that thing? It looks like a giant tennis ball, but not really. It's very interesting. Yeah, the other cool thing with Manuel Angulo is he's a Moss wrestler as well. So if you've never seen Moss wrestling before, it's very interesting. There's sort of like a piece of wood, and each competitor has to brace their feet against the piece of wood and sort of pull a bar away from the other guy or pull him over the middle barrier. So it's pretty cool. Moss wrestling is really cool if you haven't seen it before. And Manuel apparently has a background there as well as being a strongman. So there you go. So there's one photo, not of anybody in action, but kind of the forklift and setup that they have for the Wrecking Ball hold, where it's kind of the forklift brings up this half of a cage or platform that they sit on, and then a chain hangs down from there with the Wrecking Ball on the end of the chain. And some of you may have seen some of the competitors practicing in the boneyard with this, so you may be familiar with what it looks like. So results for Group 2 still not coming in yet. Let's see if Andy Black has anything on his IG. Pardon me. Nope, nothing from the wrecking ball hold. Yeah, and I don't want to bring up the World's Strongest Man's Instagram because they don't necessarily want that shared online, or at least that's the impression I've gotten in the past. What up, Snowball? Manuel is only competitive with grip. So far, that's what's proven to be true. For sure. That's what's proven to be true. Yeah, I thought he might do a little bit better than last place on the car walk just because he did it at the Masters last year. Just translated better for Mark Felix, I guess. Like he did it at Masters OSG as well, and he did very, very well on the car walk at Worlds this year. Snowball or anybody else in the audience, what's been the most impressive performance to you so far? And I know you haven't actually seen them, but just from the statistics that you've seen, what's been the most impressive either single event or collection of events thus far? I know a lot of people are going to say Mitchell Hooper, I'm sure. I mean, I think definitely for me, it's Tom Stoltman winning everything so far in the first 4 events. Yes, he's the returning champion, but you know, for some athletes, when you've won the pinnacle of your sport one time, coming back to try to do it again, it's difficult to get motivated and get up for it. And it seems like, honestly, the impression I'm getting, again, without seeing video, but the impression I'm getting is that he's winning everything and not even trying his hardest. So, yeah, it seems like he's well paced going into the finals, conserving enough energy to do well there as well, and you know, just dominating without even trying his best, which is amazing. And again, like for those that said Tom got the easiest group, I went through some numbers there, and I think we've shown that that's not necessarily the case. The other thing too is, what do y'all think about Luke Stoltman? Like with all the controversy that was started, whichever side you fall on that controversy, like I think we can all agree, either he was already poised to do really well at Worlds and it hasn't affected him, or it has fueled his fire even more because he's kicking some coolie for sure. Like Luke Stoltman, if you look at him here, again, has won 3 of his 4 events and came in second in the other one. So, you know, whatever that controversy, whatever the effect it had on other people and being divisive, like it seems to had no effect on him or had a positive effect on him because he's really pushing through. Luke's going to go through to the finals, and we'll see how he does there. Yeah, and I always did think he was going to make the finals. In fact, I'm looking at my notes. I had him predicted 7th overall. Of course, I also thought Evan Singleton would make the finals, and then he had the circumstances that he had, so that's not going to happen. So it seems like probably of all the guys, the ones that are going to make the finals that I didn't originally anticipate will be Brian Shaw, believe it or not. I know that's sacrilege to say, but he was struggling for quite a while here. So it seems like the data was supportive of a lot of things that actually happened. He's just, you know, used his professionalism and experience to try to claw his way back here into a stone off. And Brian in a stone off against most guys, he's going to dominate. So we'll see what happens there. But and the other one is Aether Melstad, who I did not have making the finals, but because of circumstances of injuries and guys pulling out and whatnot, he will now. Pretty sure he will anyway. Nothing's a given, but I'm pretty sure he will. His rating, if you look at his past performances in Atlas Stones versus Jean-Steven, he's better. He's a better stone lifter, I feel. So we'll see what happens there in the stone off. And by the way, for those of you wondering how it's pronounced, I asked my French-Canadian friend or French heritage friend, Eloi Fournier, who actually is one of the co-founders of Strongman Archives, how to pronounce it. And I'm going to try, and Eloi, forgive me, I'm sick, so I'm going to do my best here. But so you said it was Jean-Steven Querebeuf. Does that sound correct? I think that's what it is. And very happy to be hearing everyone finally, after a year or two have gone by, pronouncing Rayom correctly. So great stuff. So still nothing coming through yet for group number 2. Any other thoughts in the comments about what you've seen so far at World's Strongest Man? Let's see. Abdul says, I think the best story is either the car walk with Evan's comeback or Mitch Hooper. That car walk was crazy. I got to say, I wasn't expecting a sub 10-second time from anybody. And Mitch Hooper, if you listen to, I think it was on one of his Instagram lives, he said he held back. It may have even been in an interview with Terry Hollins, actually, where he said he wanted to make sure the tires didn't hit because they are locked, unlike some other car walks. So he wanted to make sure that he was able to get through it relatively quickly without being thrown off because the tires hitting the ground. And so he held back a little bit. He could have gone a little faster than he did. But Evan's time, especially after having, a health situation and coming back and putting that kind of performance, is unbelievable. I'd like to know what happened with the log press, whether that's just kind of where his level is, or there were other factors that contributed to him just getting the one rep. Great feedback, Abdul. Appreciate it. Snowball says, apparently Maxine Viper pressed all the reps on the log. That's crazy. It's funny because somebody asked Mitch Hooper on his live if he was planning to do that, and he said no way. Like it's silly to expend that much more energy when you don't have to. And but hey, when you got it like that, like Max, if you got it like that and you can Viper and still get 10 of them, then go for it, dude. Go for it. Yeah, he's a monster log presser. I think the data that I had assembled ahead of time supported that he was going to win his group in log press, and did it in big fashion, apparently, Viper pressing. Huh? So we have a new Viper presser on the international scene. In the U.S., for those of you that follow U.S. Strongman, Wesley Claiborne is very known for Viper pressing. So now we got 2 monster Viper pressers. Abdul says, Luke Stoltman seems very confident in his videos. He does. Yeah, it seems like he's kind of like treating this as, you guys have tried to distract me and it's not going to work. Like, that's the impression that I'm getting. Like, he's saying, he's so driven and has so much fire to he keeps talking about winning, like not podium or not making the finals, but winning. And so we'll see what happens. But yeah, I mean, ever since last World's Strongest Man, where Luke was, I think, in 4th place overall, and then that bobble with the Atlas stones knocked him down to 7th, I think he's probably been trying to do everything he can to make sure everything goes smoothly and everything goes well and give his very best effort. And yeah, you're right. He does seem very confident in his videos, and he should. He's been working very hard. I'm a big Luke Stoltman fan. I really love to watch him. I commented on one of his videos. He's funny as hell. Like, I would want to one day get away from all the stresses of life and go hang out with Luke Stoltman for an hour so I can, just experience some of the joys of life, just seeing how funny he is in person. Snowball says, Group 3 is the real group of death. Interesting. Group 3. Which one was Group 3? You're right. Well, you don't need me to tell you you're right. I should rephrase. I agree with you. When I did the math, the math done in 3 separate ways of being able to calculate it all led to the conclusion that Group 3 was the group of death. I did a video with Isaac, Hunger Smash Fitness, that you might have seen, where we went through all the math. And we evaluated different ways to calculate it. And every way came up with, the accomplishments in the last year or so of these guys pointed to the fact that Group 3 was the most difficult group. It also pointed to the fact that Tom's group was not the easiest group, as opposed to what some people may think. I think that people thought he had the easiest group because it was easier than Brian's group, and that doesn't make it the easiest group, right? Tom's group was, when you do the math, and again, you can do the math in various different ways to try to get a broad perspective, but it was more or less middle of the road, not the easiest, not the hardest. Martine's group was second easiest, it came up as. But yeah, Group 3 was the hardest group, and Brian's group was the second hardest group. So yeah, agree with you there. Abdul says Brian will destroy Bobby on Stone Off. Glad I caught that one because it's very important, the distinction. Absolutely. Bobby Thompson's been on my show before. We've interviewed him before. And if you count my co-host Isaac from Hunger Smash Fitness, who you should go support as well, he's interviewed him twice, once with me and once on his own. And Bobby's pretty open about the fact that he has a foot mobility issue. I think it's like a fused bone or something like that prevents him from being very, very good at Atlas Stone. So, he trains it. It's just because of a physical scenario doesn't come up as naturally as some of the other stuff does for him. Not to mention Brian's exceptional at Atlas Stone. So he's among the best in the world, right? So Tom's the best. Tom Stoltman is the best Atlas Stone lifter in the world. And then after that, you have a few guys that can kind of compete with each other. Brian Shaw, you got to throw Maxine Boudreau up there now. He went away and he beat Brian last year at World's Strongest Man Atlas Stone. And then he's been gone for a while, but he's back. I want to say Martins is going to be up there very good in Atlas Stones based on what he did with the inverse stones. Granted, Atlas is a sphere. It's not a natural stone. But yeah, those are your guys, right? Tom Stoltman, and then Tom Stoltman is the best, and then you have Brian Shaw, Maxine Boudreau, and Martins Licis. I would say would battle it out for who's the second best, and then Trey Mitchell right below that. Let's see. So I know who Snowball and I talk a lot offline, and he said something similar to me there. If Bobby beats Brian in stone off, then Brian should literally be ashamed. Yeah, I hear you. Yeah, the only way that would happen is like if the stones slip out of his hands or something like what happened with Luke Stoltman, like something really out of the ordinary happens, or a stiff wind gets up under Bobby's stone. Who knows? Who knows what can happen? But no, yeah, that's not going to happen. Let's see. Abdul says, Laz said on his podcast with JF that someone told him that Evan just overall looked destroyed, not only his shoulder. Interesting. Interesting. Cloud Strife. What's up, Cloud Strife? What's happening with Brian? Has he passed his best now? Some people say that. I mean, it can be a combination of things. So Laz alluded to the fact, and sorry, Laz, if I'm misquoting you, but Laz alluded to the fact that Brian may have had a death in the family recently. So maybe that's affecting him. And then some people think he's passed his best. Also, the group events weren't as good for him as they were for some of the others. Again, if you look through my predictions, I did a lot of data collection and aggregation to say where I thought Brian would finish, and I didn't have him making the finals. So, and people hear that and they call me crazy, but like, look at how he's done in the groups. Like, he's going to make the stone off now and get through to the finals, but barely. Like, for a while, he was pretty low there. So it's just, I think it's a combination of factors. One, he's been around a long time, and like, yes, he trains like an animal and is very methodical and smart about his training and gets the best equipment and the best recovery and all that stuff. I just think they weren't the best collection of events for him. Honestly, I feel like the finals events are much better for him, and we can get into that discussion if you like. But yeah, I think the finals events are way better for Brian than the groups are. Because funny enough, I didn't have him making the finals, but once he gets to the finals, I have him making the podium because I think those events are just much better for him, and that's what the data would support. Let's see, any results yet on group 2? Nothing yet. All right, back to the comments. Mark Felix got 220. On the wrecking ball hold? Oh, yeah, look at that. It did pop up. You're right. Since he's the last one on the list, I missed it. Thank you for being my eye, Snowball. They say with the world situation, you lose smell and taste. Maybe I'm losing eyesight, too. Who knows? Yeah, I mean, here's your answer. Some people believe he's been past his best for a while now. 2016-17. So Brian has been past his best since the last time Gregor Zemansky competed. There you go. What up, Jimmy Crickets? You can always count on this dude to come in and say something funny and make me laugh. Thank you, buddy. Appreciate you coming by. By the way, for those of you who haven't noticed, I crossed over the 500 video barrier finally. And yes, I know Laz has almost 800. I know. But I'm talking about me right now. And so congratulations to me. 500. What do I have? 507 videos? Let's see. 508. Congratulations to me. Yeah, let's just pop that up on the screen while we wait. Oh, interesting. It doesn't show on Microsoft Edge. Yes, I've been working hard at it for almost 2 years now. July 9th will be 2 years for me on YouTube. So very happy to still be here sharing with all of you wonderful people. And not for nothing, I'll just throw this out. In 2 years, I never once got a super chat. So if you like what's going on here, keep that in mind. I would really appreciate it. Okay, so we have a lot more comments coming in. Brian was close to his best, but not his prime. Oh, 2021, Brian was close to his best, but not his prime. Yeah, I mean, finished very well last year, so there you go. Thank you, Tim. Give me a like. I appreciate that, buddy. Yeah, subscribe if you haven't yet. Liking definitely helps the algorithm quite a bit. Sharing helps the algorithm quite a bit. So really would appreciate that. That way, if YouTube sees that all of you are sharing, then they will share tenfold, hopefully. So we'll see what happens. Sorry, I do that at work all the time. Like people ask me, why are you yelling at me? Like in my day job. And I'm like, oh, sorry for the caps lock. Funny. Playing games while waiting for the scores to come through. I got you. Cloud Strife. I believe Martins and Tom Stoltman will fight all the way to the end. So does the Snowball, I believe. Snowball, don't let me speak for you, but I believe you do too. So maybe you two should be friends. He believes so as well. No, I think so too. I mean, if you go strictly by the research, the math and the research, it would suggest that Martins is going to win in the finals. Brian 2, Tom Stoltman 3, Alexei Novikov 4. However, there's a caveat to that. Tom Stoltman's been winning everything, and again, seemingly without full exertion. So I think that this is a case where you have to deviate from the math a bit and look at what's actually happening. And so I would say that if it came down to it, Tom would finish above Brian, just based on how they've performed so far in the groups. So I would amend that and say Martins will win, world's strongest man. Tom 2, Brian 3, Alexei 4. That's what I feel like will happen. But we'll see. See what happens. There's good events for Brian. Like I said, he's a great truck puller. He's great at Atlas stones. You know, there's some great events for him there. If Mark Judas Boyd doesn't get fired from his high school shenanigans, I'll never watch or support whatsoever again. Interesting. Yeah, there's some strong feelings on both sides regarding that, especially because when things like that are released, you have that gut reaction. And I got to say, most people, I think, heard that and said, Luke is corrupt. You know, I tried to really temper my reaction until I heard the whole story. And when I heard the whole story, basically I came to the conclusion that a lot of it is not corruption. Again, I wasn't there. I don't know what happened, but the whole retainer thing to me became a non-issue because it's like paying an athlete to do any sport, right? Even in the business world, if you're a consultant and you don't work specifically for one organization, you go pick up a project from one organization and say, I will complete this for you contractually in the next 3 months for this fee. And then another organization approaches you to do similar work and you say, I'm not available to do this work for you. I'm already otherwise committed during this time range. Let's talk about a different time range if I'm interested. And if I'm not interested, I'd say I'm not interested, right? So I don't see how like the retainer and in, excuse me, you know, in receiving a retainer, you promise to do certain shows. Like that's just market, right? That's just like being paid to do a service, right? The part that becomes controversial is the special events or the special groupings at Worlds. Now, this year, everybody did the same events, so even that goes away. It's not a thing. Like, you don't get preferential events because there aren't any for anybody. Like, everyone does the same. So then the question becomes preferential groups. And the way that Luke Stoltman described it was, he kind of misstated it. It wasn't really preferential groups. You get preferential groups because of your finishes in the last year and other Giants live shows. And you're being rewarded for being a winner, like not for committing to a retainer. So if that's the case, and again, I don't know which of those two situations is the case, but if that's the case, then nothing's wrong. You know, if it's not the case, then something's wrong. So I don't know. I think it's unfair to blame one side or blame the other side if you don't have firsthand knowledge. That's all. Jimmy Cricket says, and by the way, sorry I keep coughing in you guys' ears. I'm very unhappy with Boyd. I will not let him get his picture with me. Hey, Jimmy Crickets, I would be upset if I couldn't get my picture with you. You're well known in the strongman community, at least in the comments. Listen, if you're in Big Laz's comments and then you're over in my comments, I consider it a great honor. Cloud Strife. My opinion on Brian is that he's performing at a high level, but has been caught by some younger guns, and now age is becoming a factor. Yeah, he's been around forever. You can't be at your peak forever, unless you're LeBron James. He's been at his peak for quite a long time, but yeah. And yes, I know you meant opinions. Yep. Janasha just did 101. It's a great time too. Well, it's okay compared to what we've seen in the other groups. Like I said, I always thought 60 seconds would be good, but I guess not. Mark Sheridan says, Mark Felix's insane time. I'm late to the watch party. Welcome, Mark Sheridan. You just like him because his name's Mark. Nah, I joke. Yeah, I mean, didn't we all expect him to win any kind of grip holding type event? I did. I didn't know if I would ever predict to be that long. Like, that's a big time. But yeah, I'm wondering, like, what's the lightest weight, or what's the heaviest weight, I should say, that I could hold for that long. I ain't anywhere near 500 pounds. I'll tell you that right now. What about Mitch, though? Mitch is a great guy. He's an interesting character. So it's funny, like, everybody really started getting on the Mitch bandwagon yesterday. And, like, I'm not trying to say I saw him first, because there's hundreds of people that knew him before me, or thousands of people that knew him before I did. But, you know, I had him on the show very recently before World's Strongest Man a couple of times to talk about what he thought his chances were and what he thought of the chosen events. Kim Wojcik was on with him, actually. And, you know, we talked a lot, and he's really interesting guy. Like, he knows what he's good at. He knows what he's great at, and he doesn't pretend that he's great at everything. But the things he's great at, he's very confident in, and he's not emotional. He's kind of straight to the point. You know, he was asked, I believe, by Terry Hollins on the World's Strongest Man show about, like, you know, what did you think was going to happen in the loading race? Did you think he would win? And he said, yes. Like, it's not boasting. He just knows what his capabilities are compared to other guys. And when asked about the log press, you know, I think Terry insinuated, like, you can go out and win that one too. And he's like, well, no, I don't think so. Like, my log is really good, but not compared to Brian and people like that. And so he really knows where his sweet spot is and, you know, what he has to do. And I'm pretty sure if my math is right here, he can do what Tom did and just pick up the wrecking ball and put it right back down, get his 1 point and get out of here. Right? Because if he gets 1 point, he'd be at 23.5. And if Bobby were to win the wrecking ball hold, which I'd be shocked if he gets a better time than Mark Felix, but if he were to win the wrecking ball hold, he'd be at 23 points. So Mitch would be at 23.5. So he getting 1 point puts him through. So if my math is right, I believe all he has to do is pick it up and put it back down. But yeah, so results so far, 140.49 seconds. Wow. For Mark Felix. That will almost definitely stand up for 6 points for him. 61.38 seconds for Konstantin Janasha. 48.27 seconds for Gabriel Pena. Not a great time for him, unfortunately, but he is dealing with those knee issues. So, you know, again, he's trying to think his way through and get as many points as he can without putting himself in physical danger for the future. Like, he wants a long career. And Brian Shaw, 66.13 seconds. So decent for him, not otherworldly like some of these other times, like Kevin Ferris's time, but decent. And so we'll see. So if Mark Felix gets 6 points, that'll put him up to 15. Brian's still in second right now. And Mitch is going to probably do a really quick up and down. So that means Brian would stay in second. So Brian is going to get 5 or 4 points, it looks like. Right? Yeah. So Gabriel Pena won't be able to get into the stone off, is what it looks like. So there you go. Jimmy Crickets, how would you like to be so strong that you could lose strength and be a threat to be world's strongest man? Yeah, I love it. It's funny, like, no matter who you think is going to win World's Strongest Man based on the compilation of events that they've chosen and what everybody happens to be doing that year, you always get asked that question. If you were stuck under a car, who would you want to lift it off of you? And I always think Brian Shaw, no matter who else comes to mind. It's always like, if me and my family were stuck under a car, or like, he actually literally did, I heard the story, rip a car door off a car to save a family one time. So, you know, it's for me always Brian Shaw. By the way, any of you who are here who haven't liked this yet or subscribed, please go ahead and do that. I really do appreciate it. But yeah, I can't fathom being that strong. Like, some of you know, I like going in the woods and doing stone presses or stone to chest or lapping stones or log pressing and, you know, natural ones in the woods without the handles and stuff like that. And I've weighed some of the stuff, and it's unfathomable how much heavier the stuff is that these guys are lifting than what I lift. My PB is, well, I'm not sure that I've weighed it accurately yet, but I think it's a 210-pound stone to chest. And then when I saw at was it the Arnold's or Rogue, where Martins did 2 reps with a 410-pound stone or something to his shoulder, I was like, this is almost twice the weight. It's just unfathomable. I wouldn't even be able to roll that on the ground. Leia's got a cool name. Mark Felix has a cool name. You never trust people with 2 first names. You just can't trust them. I joke, Mark Felix. I joke. My other joke is you can't trust people with names that are verbs, like Bob or Neil. If you don't know that I do cheesy humor, now you know. Snowball says, eek, Brian only got 66 seconds. I think he's still threw the stone off, right? Pretty good chance. Martins is 1-0 versus Car Walk. Clarify for me, Jimmy Crickets, please. You guys actually might like this. Let me share. I don't know if you saw it on one of my other videos. I was showing Martins head-to-head against other people that I had thought would make it into the finals. So it'd be a good thing to look at while we wait for more results to roll in. Yeah, so like this is when Pa was still in it, but I didn't have him going through the finals. So, for example, you have Martins here, and then you have Martins here. So clearly he's never competed against himself, which is why this is empty. But if you look at everybody else, and of course Constantine's not going to make the finals now, but I made this prediction like a week ago or whenever it was before I knew Constantine was going to underperform. So if you look at Constantine Janasha, he has 0 wins against Martins. Alexei has 0. Tom Stoltman has 0. Luke Stoltman has 0. Trey 0. Maxime 0. Kevin Farrer 0. So it's interesting. And then if you go across the top, Martins has 1 win. By win, I mean didn't necessarily win the contest, but outplaced the other guy. So he has 1 win against Konstantin Janasha, 5 against Alexei Novikov, 6 against Tom Stoltman, 8 against Luke Stoltman, 1 against Kevin Ferris, 3 against Trey Mitchell, and 3 against Maxine Boudreau. And then you can look at this matrix of how all the guys kind of match up with each other. Again, this is who I thought was going to the finals a few days ago. At this point, Aether Melstad's probably going to go to the finals as well. And at this point, Brian Shaw is probably going to go to the finals as well. So I would have to redo part of this. But I think it's interesting to look at the head-to-head and how that all works. And by the way, the reason why I know that, I don't know if you've seen this one yet, but let me share my this tool, the algorithm tool that I have that you might also find interesting. And then we'll get right back to the results in a second. Oops. So I have this head-to-head tool. You can basically type in anybody, and based on all the data, that thousands of rows of data that I've accumulated, it'll tell you where they competed against each other. So if you say like Brian Shaw and Martins Licis, for example, and type it in, it'll come up with all the contests in Brian Shaw's career, all the ones in Martin's career, and it'll say match if they were both at that show. And then it'll tell you who did better. So Brian has 2 head-to-head wins, or again, not wins, but where he plays better than Martins in a show they were in, and Martins has 3 where he plays better than Brian. In those shows where they both competed in, if you average out all the placings, Martins 3.4, Brian's 5. So you can do this with any of the guys that I have in my compilation of data, which is quite a lot. And women as well. I have 350 women or something like that in my algorithm. So it's pretty interesting. So in this case, you'd have 2018 Wus Dubai, where Brian placed 2nd and Martins placed 5th. So Brian gets, that's one of his 2 here. And then World's Strongest Man 2019. Wait, that's not right. I got to fix that one. That's the one Martins won. So that's definitely not right. But yeah, so that's how you can do it. All right, back to the results. Oh, who I'd like to get a car off of me. Right. You'd pick Martins. Huh. Not a bad choice. Not a bad choice. I'm sticking with Brian, but not a bad choice. All right, back to the results. All right, so Mitch Hooper does 6.4 seconds. Seems like a little longer than he had to do, but there you go. Does the bare minimum, gets in. So Mitch Hooper's into the finals, 1 point. And then let's see. So Bobby Thompson, 81.33 seconds for 5 points there. So it's going to be Bobby and Brian in the stone off like we thought. 4 points go to Brian Shaw. 6 points, of course, obviously, goes to Mark Felix. 3 points to Konstantin Janasha and 2 points to Gabriel Pena. So we have so far Tom Stoltman going through the finals and Mitchell Hooper going through the finals, and we're going to have Kevin Ferris and Gabriel Rayom going at it in the stone off. Who do you think is going to win that one? Before this started, I would have said for sure Kevin Ferris, but Gabriel Rayom is outperforming the data substantially in a variety of different events, so I don't know what's going to happen there. And then I think all of us think that clearly Brian Shaw is going to outperform Bobby Thompson in the stone off in Group 2. Sorry, I got people messaging me about Mark Felix's hold. Yep, so stone off Bobby versus Brian. Kevin has been holding on to 2nd. Very happy for him on that. Yep. It's a strong dude. He's, excuse me, there are people that you think of on specific events or specific disciplines that immediately come to mind. Atlas Stones is Tom Stoltman. For me, I've said this many times on my channel, for me, Super Yoke. I know Mitchell Hooper has now made a big splash with Super Yoke, but up until that and up until I knew about his prowess, Rob Kearney for me. Like if you ask, how do I learn how to do Super Yoke very well? Who do you watch? It's Rob Kearney. And for me, it's if I want to learn grip, who has the best grip? It's Kevin Ferris. Snowball thinks Kevin will beat Gabe. Let me look at my ratings on here. So data tells us, this is Group 1, right? Yeah. Data tells us Kevin Ferris has an Atlas Stone rating of 61.06. Gabriel Rayom, 18.75. So, again, he's been outperforming the data in quite a few different areas, but the disparity in what the data tells us in Atlas Stone prowess between Kevin Ferris and Gabriel Rayom is substantial. So I'm going to go with you, Kevin Ferris. Kevin is great with stones. That 1 year he lost to Trey, had different tacky, and it slimed up on him. Interesting. Yeah, I think the consensus is Kevin's going to win the stone off. Mark says Bobby does have the slight advantage in being in second place rather than third place. That's true. Given that the second place finisher just has to match what the third place does rather than initiating. But not enough advantage to overcome Brian Shaw and how much better he is at stones. At least not in my estimation. I don't know. I got to say, like, people were worried about Brian. He was floundering lower in the placings for quite a long time before making this comeback at the end. So we'll see what happens. But like I say, I think the events are better for him in the finals. So did anybody catch how long did we have between Group 1 and Group 2 coming out and doing the Wrecking Ball, so we know how long we might have to wait now? Group 3 has Novikov, Adam Bishop, Trey Mitchell, Rob Kearney, Gregor Zemansky, and Mika Toro in it. Who are your favorites here? Are we thinking Alexi's also going to go for just a very short hold because he's up by 5.5 points, which means that if Adam were to win it, he'd be at 22. And if Alexi gets 1 point, he'll be at 22.5. So it seems like he could also just do a very short lift like Mitchell Hooper did and like Tom Stoltman did. Anybody disagree with that? What's up, Tim? Thanks for joining. Just joined and see Mark's result. It was otherworldly, wasn't it? If only Mark could have done 1 rep on the log, he would be in the stone off and knock out Brian. Really? I didn't check out the math. Is that true? So let's see. Group 2. So he's at 15 points. If he would have done 1 rep on the log, that would have been good for 1 point because Gabe Payne, well, if he did 1 rep on the log, that would have been 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. Would it be 0.5 point each for Mark and for Gabe? No, that's not right. Oh, wait a minute. Sorry, I was looking at the wrong column. My bad. So 6 points went to Bobby Thompson, 4.5 split for Mitch and Brian Shaw. Since that was split, that would normally be 5 points and 4 points. So 3 went to Constantine, and then 2 points went to Gabe Pena. So if Mark did 1 rep, he would have 1.5 points, and Gabe Pena would have 1.5 instead of 2. So then Mark would be at 16.5 right now. So he'd still be below Brian. Group 3 will start pretty soon, I think. Wait between the 2 groups weren't that long. Cool. I don't know how long my voice is going to hold out to tell you all the truth. I might have to hop out early. We'll see. See how it goes. Jimmy Cricket says, devil's advocate here. I wonder if Bobby held on too long. He didn't need to beat Brian. to keep his second place advantage. However, holding 500 pounds has to tax the posterior chain. It's a very interesting point that you bring up. That definitely makes a lot of sense. Maybe he wants to prove a point because he knows he's not going to win the stone off. Just wants to go out with a bang. Rest up for the next show. If you already know you have advantage, but are still the underdog, why do more? Yeah, Snowball, you came to the same conclusion as me. 1.5 points each. Thank you, sir. Jimmy Cricket says, I'm going to be the first to say Mark Felix has the world record in cannonball hold. Wrecking ball hold, right? Cannonball is like the mock Atlas stone that they painted into a cannonball for loading race. Wrecking ball is larger than cannonball, right? Cannonball you shoot. Wrecking ball used to break buildings. Tim Lee, what up? Math is usually my strong suit, but since I'm sick with the world situation now, it's a little more difficult. A little more difficult, my friend. So what do we think is going to happen in Wrecking Ball Hold for Group 3? Again, I think Alexi's not going to have to do much, so he'll probably just get the 1 point and get out of here. Go rest. What did I have for predictions? So data supported. Wow, I had a really high rating for Mika Toro on this one, believe it or not. Like way higher than anybody else. So see what happens there. And then I had Alexi second, which is not going to do because he doesn't need it, right? So then the next after that, I had Rob Kearney and Trey, then Gregor Zemansky, and then I had Bishop last. But these ratings are all really close to each other, so 4 of them could go either way. Like Mika Toro's rating is much higher than everybody. Alexi's second, and again, we'll take him out of the discussion because he shouldn't have to try very hard here. And then the other 4 guys are all like within fractions of, or small numbers of points in their success rating from each other, so they could all go either way. What up, Strangeland? Hope you're doing well as well. I guess I do, for those of you that didn't know, I did come down with the world situation, but, you know, Advil's helping me. Thank you, Advil. So the voice might not hold up too long, but I got the other symptoms in check for now. Feels like I did heavy squats, but I didn't do any. It's really weird. Jimmy Cricket says, I'm still the first to say it incorrectly, talking about the wrecking ball / cannonball hold, right? Hold load, the hold load, cannonball, wrecking hold load. Snowball says, Rob said when he did the hold in testing, it felt quite easy. He said he will hold on until he passes out. Oof, interesting. I've been trying to get him on the show before. I reached out a couple times. I need to try harder. That would be fantastic to get him out on the show. I think it actually would be pretty cool. I'll ask all of you, who would you like to see interviewed on my show next? I've had like Terry Hollins give me a soft commitment. Like he'll come on anytime. He said, I wanted to try to get him like while he's in the US now, so our time zones line up better. But I typically do my live streams on Monday nights, and this Monday's my anniversary, so I'm pretty sure I'm going to not do one this Monday night. So we'll see. Maybe I can, if I'm feeling better, I can move it to Sunday and try to see if Sunday after the show's over, if any of the guys are willing. Strangeland said, as time goes on, muscle and endurance, I'm sure, has to be a factor, especially in that heat. Like Mitchell Hooper saying, like heat's, I don't think he said it's not a factor, but basically he's was downplaying it a bit. Like it's not as bad. And a lot of the guys are saying, like, since the athlete's tent is so well appointed with couches and air conditioning and stuff like that, like it's not as bad as it could be. But Gabriel Pena was saying the heat is pretty bad. So I guess it depends who you ask. But I mean, it was over 100 degrees. Like that's, for those of you who are not of the Fahrenheit ilk. That's really, really, really hot. Like 80 degrees is hot. So I think they said it was 102 yesterday or something. It's crazy just to walk around in heat like that. Never mind try to lift heavy objects. Snowball, Magnus Ver has very recently been on our show already. Why don't you watch my stuff? I thought we were friends. I joke, but yeah, we had him on a few weeks ago. It was pretty cool, actually. All props to Isaac from Hunger Smash Fitness. He procured that relationship, but yeah, Magnus was cool. We had a great time with him. Yeah, I'll shoot you over the link when I find it. It was great. He answered a couple hard hitting questions. I made him tell me like who's the greatest Icelandic strongman of all time, and without question, he said there's only one of them with 4 World's Strongest Man wins, or 2 of them. But he basically said I've beaten all John Paul's records, and without saying it, he claims that he's the greatest Icelandic strongman of all time. But yeah, we had a great time with Magnus. That was a lot of fun. Martins, I have tried. Haven't gotten a response back yet. No shade, no negativity at all. He probably never even saw my comments, but yeah, I've tried reaching out to Martins. I have had one of Martins. I don't know if I would call him a consistent training partner, but he trains a lot with Martins, and that's Jacob Finnerty. He currently has the natural stone press overhead record, which I think is 320 pounds. And I may try to reach out to Martins through Jacob and see if I can get him to come on the show that sometime. Totally with you. That would be astounding. I would be beyond the moon excited to get Martins on the show. Thanks, Snowball. Yep, it's on there. The full interview's on there, and then I have some broken out, smaller snippets as well. Yeah, Martins would be awesome to have on. Yeah, certain strongmen, like strongmen and strongwomen, for the most part, I reach out to them, and they're all very excited and very helpful and very willing to come on and all that stuff. And wait, I gotta stop what I'm saying now because I am so super excited. Jiminy Crickets, I don't even know how to put it on the screen because it's never happened before. Thank you, buddy. I like to be the first. I have the My Block Super Chat record. Thank you, buddy. So, it's funny for those of us who aren't like huge YouTubers, you don't know how long or how long it takes us to earn $4.99 in ad revenue. Like, so thank you so much. Really do appreciate it. You made my day, buddy. Really made my day. Really do appreciate that. I'm going to leave that on the screen as long as I can. Thank you. That's so nice of you. Appreciate it very much. But yeah, so Martins, who else would you like to see on the show? I mean, we've had some heavy hitters. We've had JF Corona on a few times. We've had Bobby Thompson on. Who have I had on who's competing this year? Mitch Hooper's been on. Bobby Thompson's been on. Gabe Pena was a great interview. It's a while ago now, but if you go dig that one up on my channel, it took us a little while to get it coordinated because he was really busy. He promotes as well, but such an intelligent, introspective guy, like great. And then maybe some of the best interviews I've ever done, Travis Ortmeyer. His stories are different from everybody else. Who else who's competing this year have I had on? Let's see. Let's go up to group 1. Have not had other of the Stoltmans. Reached out to Kevin Ferris a few times, haven't gotten a response, so maybe he doesn't check his DMs. I tried with Gabriel Rayom. At the time I tried with him, he wasn't confident in the language barrier, so maybe try again now. But yeah, at the time he wasn't confident. Ivars, we've hooked up in chat quite a few times. Have been trying to make the timing work, time zone wise. So maybe I see if I can get a hold of him before he leaves the States. Manuel Angulo was on very recently. Have not tried Andy Black. There's a lot of British strongmen who I would love to have on, but the time zone difference would be bad for them, given the timing of day that I can get on live streams. I do have a day job and a family and whatnot, so I usually do them at 9 p.m. Eastern, which is the middle of the night for them, which is difficult. I made one exception once. I don't necessarily like to get up and, super early, but I did it for Donna Moore because, when you have potentially the GOAT offering to come on your show, I think I did that one at 6 a.m. So I got up at like 4:30 or 5 a.m. to prep for it. So it would be a good time for her. Bobby's been on. Brian, I've interviewed a lot of people that train and know Brian, but haven't been able to get in contact with him at all. So Steve Foshin's been on. You've probably seen him on a lot of Brian's videos. Steve Foshin's been on our show. Anthony San Lorenzo has trained with Brian Shaw. He's been on the show multiple times. He's 105, I believe. You've seen him at Clash of the Coast twice. He's a great, great strongman. Gabe Pena's been on. Who else? I was trying to coordinate something with Pavlo, and he said he'd come on next time he's in the States. I should reach out to him again. I don't want to bother him in the middle of the show, though. But I think he would come on. Pablo Cordiaca. Who else? Trey, I've been told, is just a little quiet, but I've seen him doing interviews recently, so maybe he's becoming a little more out there, so I could try to reach out to him again. Maxine Boudreau has been on multiple times with his partner, Sam Beliveau. They're both awesome. The first time I ever interviewed him, I was talking with both of them, and Max had to leave in the middle of the interview because they got a delivery of 2 800-pound tires, and he had to go bring them into the gym. So I kept talking to Sam in the meantime, and she's at the top in middle and heavyweight strong women as well. You should follow her if you don't yet, Sam Beliveau. And who else? I think we have a group 5. Aether Melstad's been on my show. Good guy. Enjoyed him as well. And Kim Uyadik has been on my show as well. If you haven't seen my videos recently, let me explain what he told me. You see Lorenzen all over the place. He doesn't like that name very much, or he doesn't prefer it, I should say. You might see, like if you click on his name, you'll see Kim Uyadik Lorenzen. He prefers Uyadik because it's more native Greenlandic. And what he told me sort of off the air was Lorenzen is more a name that came about from, I think it was a Danish invasion of Greenland. So he doesn't really prefer that name. So you'll see it. You actually, if you look at his Instagram, when World's Strongest Man came out with the shirts, like the green shirts for this year's World's Strongest Man, it said Lorenzen on them. And he was saying like how he appreciates like all the swag and the shirts look awesome. And he's like, a little bit of a shame it doesn't say Uyadik on it. So there's your proof. But if you want to be more precise, he likes Uyadik. And the way he pronounced it when he taught me was a little bit of a stress on the second syllable. So Uyadik. So yeah, those are all the guys that I've had on the show so far. Strangeland says, having new athletes coming into the strongman scene is great, meaning success of those, say, 2 years in the game and watching their results climb to the top level. Yeah. Yeah. Which newer strongmen are your favorites that you've been most most excited to watch? Jimmy. Yeah. So Jimmy, I'm just reading your comment after I already spoke. So now, I've had Max on a few times. He's a good guy. He would probably come on again if I asked him. He's very accommodating that way. Yeah. I think I had him on total of 3 times. Once was with Sam. Once was alone, I think after last year's Worlds when he podiumed. And then once was very recently with Sam Beliveau and JF Caron. They all came on together with the one where JF was in bed while he was doing the interview with us. Yeah, that was an interesting one. I mean, 2 years in the higher competitive level, I'm sure training has been a lot longer. Yeah. It's funny. So when we say 2 years in the higher competitive level, do we mean just Giants Live? Because I feel like there are a lot of like really great strongmen and strongwomen that just because they aren't in Giants Live, they might not get the notoriety. Some of the others, like there's been discussion about certain athletes maybe shouldn't have been picked for this World's Strongest Man in favor of others, like Paul Smith comes up a lot, for example. But then there's Pavlo Cordiaca made it into Giants Live, qualifying through last year's OSG. He won his class in OSG, and the other two right behind him, Spencer Remick and Tyler Cotton, qualified for Giants Live as well. And I believe they will be doing shows this year, so they could have been choices also to be alternates for World's Strongest Man as well. So, people like that, like Tyler Cotton hasn't done I don't think he's done a Giants Live show yet. I think Spencer Remick did once in the past. But since they haven't, like some people, Giants Live has the most marketing or exposure, if you will. So I think some people, if you're not in that league, like they don't know you exist. But there's a lot of super strong men and women. Josh Silvas is the other one. He got a lot of notoriety at America's Strongest Man last year. He's huge. If you haven't seen that one yet, go back to my channel and look up Josh Silvas, Silvas. He told me when we were doing that interview, he was 490 during that interview. So 6'4", 490, imagine. Enormous guy. Let's see. What other comments do we have? Maxime has a great log. His training partner, Sam, is a great presser as well in the Elite One. Yes, I was mentioning Sam earlier. First of all, she's a sweetheart. She does great interviews every time we have her on. And her training her overhead pressing is unbelievable. She's going for, unless she already did it, the Circus Dumbbell World Record, which I think was 185 pounds, if I remember correctly. And she's already looking past that. When I interviewed her, she said, I'm going to be the first woman to dumbbell press 200 pounds. And so the funny thing is, I remember saying during that interview, wow, 200 pounds, like I'd be happy the day that I could do 100 pounds. And I remember her response. She's like, if you can't circus dumbbell press 100 pounds, you need to eat more. And I was like, what? She's like, protein. You need a lot of protein. You got to eat a lot more if you can't circus dumbbell press 100 pounds. So started eating my protein, got pretty close on 100, but I can't fathom 200. Yeah, her overhead pressing is unbelievable, especially after that mishap she had last year. Was it on the log press, I think, where she had an injury and then had to come back from it? That happened before the first time she was going to attempt the circus dumbbell world record. But yeah, Sam Beliveau is a world-class elite presser for sure. And not only good at pressing either, she's very well-rounded. Jimmy Cricket says, Trey is very quiet, but a great young man. I agree. Everything I've ever seen him say, either in the Facebook groups or on the few interviews that I've seen him on, he seems like a great guy, like would be very, very cool to hang out with. He and Gabe Pena are friends, and Gabe has told me a lot of great things about him. He said, like, maybe I could talk him into coming on sometime. Like, he is a little quiet and reserved, but I think like we would have a nice discussion for sure. I have nothing but positive things to say about his career, so how can it go any other way, right? He's really very, very dominant. Tim Lee says, what about Big Laws? You mentioned liking your channel. He did? Oh, Big Laws. Sorry. I don't know why I thought you meant Big Z. Big Laws has been on my channel. So let me dig up that link for you. You mentioned liking my channel and giving. Yeah. So Big Laws, should I let the cat out of the bag? He gives me grief on my predictions, but in my mind, he's actually doing it to help me and get me attention. Like, oh, look at this guy and his crazy predictions, but then like 100 people come watch me that wouldn't have known I existed before that. So for me, I don't take any offense to that. I thank him every time his name comes up. He did a full career interview with me. That one you'll find really interesting, where I interviewed him, because he doesn't do them with everybody. Like with my peers that do what I do on YouTube, he does not do them with everybody, and he chose me to do career interview with him. So, I think actually Luke Stoltman interviewed him after I did, which is funny enough. But yeah, I'll dig that one up for you, maybe while we're waiting for more results, and show you where we are there. But yeah, Big Laz and I had a great time together on the show for sure. Yeah. Yeah, I think maybe some of you who haven't seen some of my older stuff, don't know some of the people I've had on. But yeah, if you go to here, let's do this real quick. Bring up my channel. Yeah. Okay, so if I stop, share that. There you go. Yeah, so if you go to my channel and then scroll down a bit, I have it all broken out. So I have, contest predictions and results across the top. Then I have interviews here. So if you go through them and hit this arrow on the right, scroll through, you see everybody I've interviewed. I interviewed the ring announcer from Eddie versus Thor. He is a really cool guy, Big Mo, Spencer Remick, JF Carones. If I've interviewed them more than once, you'll see multiple videos in the playlist. There's Maxine Boudreau and Sam Beliveau, Jacob Finnerty, Aaron Murray. There's a lot of different interviews I've done, and Big Loz is in there as well. So, you just look it up, right? Just go to the little magnifying glass, say Big Loz on my channel, and then you'll see all the, the interviews I have with him, right? So I have kind of broken out snippets like the Super Yoke Pro tips and things like that, the career highlights. Then if you scroll down, like how I became a strongman, these are all clips, but then the whole interview is here as well. So I think it's this one, Talking Strongman with Big Loz. He gave me permission only for one time only to use the Talking Strongman vernacular or phrase that he always uses. So I actually asked him about that. So don't go complaining. I asked him, can I say Talking Strongman with Big Loz? People would think it's funny. So yeah. But yeah, so that's the one. Yes, Big Loz has been on the channel. Yes, we had an awesome time together. I think our sense of humor are similar, and have huge respect for him for sure. All right, so let's look back at results. I'm not seeing results for Group 3 yet. Let me refresh. You shouldn't have to refresh on Strongman Archives, but I do just in case. Nothing yet. Maybe they're off to lunch. What do you say? Let's see. Favorite interview was with Travis. He's been on a few times, and Travis has the best stories of anybody. Like, the first time I interviewed him, he was telling me some pretty dark stuff in his life. Like, I won't give it away because maybe it's, you should go watch the video. Maybe it's things some people wouldn't want to hear. It's some pretty dark stuff. But I remember doing that, and my kid was sick upstairs. My office is in the basement. And my wife's messaging me like, hey, our son's sick. Can you go check on him? And Travis is telling me like this real personal like stuff. And I'm like, I'm really sorry, man. I'll be right back. Just give me a second. And I left him in the middle of like a crazy story. So I felt so bad. But yeah, he has the best stories for sure. And great guy. He came on again with, didn't I have him on with Jonathan Cotton, I think? Because they do Strongman Champions League stuff together. And what I'm thinking? Who wants to see Tyler Cotton, who's in Giants Live now, actually lives like 40 minutes from here. So who would like to see if I can get him to come over and we go run through the woods together and press some stones? Let me know what you think of that idea. Jimmy Cricket says, Loz loves my blog, famously hates his predictions. But when you have big in your name, you're not used to sparing feelings. Yeah, it's funny. When we first met, like he gave me tips on predictions. And so I've incorporated a lot of those, and that's why my predictions are a lot better than they used to be. I used to rely. So here's the story. I was a big Nick Strength and Power fan, right? Still am. Like, he has millions of subscribers. A lot of people are big fans, right? So I would watch him for his bodybuilding news and whatnot. And when I first started, I said, oh, like when people are looking for news, they look in Instagram. So when I started doing Strongman, I started going to Instagram and say, well, so-and-so did this lift and this lift, so here's what place they're going to come in and whatever. And Loz is the one who taught me, like, you got to put a lot more weight on contest, actual contest successes or lack thereof than you do on Instagram, because that'll tell you what people do in a contest scenario. And so, like, I don't take it as any kind of, he doesn't hate my predictions. Like, he's constructively trying to get me to a better state. That's what it is. He's a funny guy. Like I said, he's doing it to help me get noticed, which I really do appreciate. And hey, I learn, I take his tips and make my predictions better. And now they're way better than they used to be. And of course, Loz will always say too, like, it isn't in getting them right. It's just the fun in making the predictions. Like, that's what the fun is. So yeah, I just like working with the numbers, and And now I have a good way to do it better than I did at the beginning. So yeah, I wouldn't say he famously hates my predictions. He hated them at the very beginning for sure. But yeah, I've kind of I've gotten in his comments and given him a hard time too. Like, hey, you can't still hate me when I'm using your tips now. So yeah, it's interesting. No, but he's a great guy. We talk definitely off camera, and he's a great guy, very helpful, and doing so much to grow the sport for sure. He's number one. You know, there's no doubt about that. He's number one in the industry. I've always said to him, I'm happy to be number two to you. Like, why do you think I'm doing my watch party now instead of when he does his in the evening session? Because I know nobody will come to mine during that time, and I'll just be blatantly honest about that. Not to mention, like, by that time, I'll probably not be feeling very well from my world situation. I'll probably be pretty tired by then. Right. Any more results coming in? Nothing, huh? Come on. I want to see if Novikov beats 6.8 seconds or whatever Mitch Hooper did. Let's see. We have a few more comments. How long or what times are you on here today? I have to go, but we'll come back. I'm sick, so I might have to go too. But I'll stay on as long as I can for this session. Like I said, I probably won't do the evening session because Laz and Liz are doing theirs. And, you know, I'm sure a lot of you, I know I've seen you there, like Jiminy Crickets is going to want to go there for sure. But yeah, so yeah, I'm probably not going to cover the evening one. I'm sick. I'm going to rest during the evening one and just sit back and watch theirs and get some great information there. And so, yeah, I'll probably stay on here for another half hour, 45 minutes or so. We'll see. I don't think I'll be here for all 6 groups, but yeah. Just want to make sure we have interesting things to say while we're waiting for these scores to come through. Who's been the biggest negative surprise? So we've talked about what's been the biggest positive surprise. I said kind of Tom winning everything. Like, I knew he'd do well, but I didn't think he'd win everything. We talked about Luke Stoltman kind of having extra motivation based on what the controversy kind of pushing him a little more. Thank you, Strangeland. So you're taking off. Thanks. Appreciate it. Yeah, check out all my other stuff when you get a chance. There's, like I said, I finally crossed over the 500 video barrier. I'm at 508 videos, believe it or not. So plenty of great stuff for you to go check out in your off time there. Yeah, so we talked about those kind of positive surprises. Evan Singleton coming back from a medical situation to do what he did on the car walk. How about negatively? Like, what has surprised you negatively the most? Yeah, so Jimmy, I got to pop your comment up on the screen because I take every opportunity I can to compliment people. So you're here because Laz told you about me way back then. He's very kind and generous, pain in the neck. It's funny. He is very kind and generous. Like I said, what he does is, you know, mostly authentic, but part of it is, I don't want to say a character, but like beating me up on the internet is a character. I don't think of him that way. I think of him as a helping friend for sure. Another waiting party. What's up, Shamian? Yep. Yeah, like I've been telling folks on here, I came down with a case of the world situation, unfortunately. You know, the C word that YouTube doesn't like when you say. Maybe they do now. I don't know. But a couple of years ago, they didn't like it at all. So came down with the world situation and decided, since I'm just sitting around anyway, get together and talk a little bit. Thanks for dropping by. I do appreciate it. I always get scared when a lion comes into my my live streams. Shemian, what do you think about, we were just talking about the most surprising positives and negatives of World's Strongest Man. So positive wise would be like Evan coming back from a a medical situation to do that tremendous car walk. Negatively, what do you think's been the most surprising negative thing that's happened at World's Strongest Man this year? Nedzman Ambeskovich. I think it's still a little bit foggy on what's going on there, but I heard rumors that, well, I mean, I heard from someone I consider a good source, but it's not confirmed, but some kind of threats against his children back home or something like that. Maybe having to do with his performance. I don't know, or if the two are totally unrelated, but he was considering dropping out for a while. Keelan, Bobby versus Brian in the stone off, who wins? This is one of the easiest things to pick, unfortunately, in all of World's Strongest Man. Brian easily wins. Bobby has been forthright that I think it's because of a foot, kind of a fused bone mobility issue or something like that, is that, Stones is not one of his best events. Shemian says, the positive for me is Hooper. Before the comp started, I actually left a comment for him saying that I believed he would win the group. That's awesome. That's cool. Yeah, he was on the show twice, pretty recently, right before World's Strongest Man. And like I said, he's not arrogant, but he's confident. Like, he knows what he can do and he knows what he can't do. And it's funny, like, when he said to me, it's funny that I'm known for deadlift because it's not even my best event. I was taken aback. And I said, well, what's your best event? And I said, super yoke is my best event. And so when he won the first two events at World's Strongest Man this year and car walk was next, I was very excited. I said, he's going to win 3 in a row here because, as he said, super yoke is his best event. And car walk, yes, it has the additional concerns of the wheels hitting the ground and the imbalance of there being a lot more weight in front and in back than a yoke has. But he won it. So there you go. Yeah, he's a great guy. Mitch Hooper is really cool. I'm very happy for what's happening for him. He doesn't get ahead of himself. Like, he's a very composed guy. He's cool. Very cool guy. We'll see what happens at the deadlift championships. How do you think he's going to do there? He's, again, very confident there. From what he said to me, he says he's going to break the record, and he understands full well it might take more than 505 to break it, and he still thinks he's going to break it. He's done 475 very recently, kilograms, that is, for anyone who's unclear. And I think he did 425 suitless. Mitchell seems so headstrong and so laid back for someone in his first World's Strongest Man. By headstrong, I think you mean like confident, not headstrong a-hole, right? Like, yeah, he's not a jerk at all. Like, he's confident, I think I would say. Like I said, he knows what he can do. He knows where he's elite, and he knows where he's a little less than elite. He told all of us that in log press, maybe don't expect what you saw in the first 3 events. Is very good, but he's not, Brian Shaw good, and came to pass. So, like, he seems to have a really firm grasp on what he can do exceptionally well and what he can do a little less than exceptionally well. And yeah, he's just super, super composed, especially for someone in his first World's Strongest Man. I'll tell you, like, when I interviewed him, I would have a similar comment to what you had. It's as if he doesn't even realize that he's at World's Strongest Man. He's talking like it's just another day, pretty much. But yeah, he seems to be enjoying himself. Like, he's making jokes like I would make. When Terry interviewed him, he said, hey, great talking to you. And Mitchell said, I keep winning so I can keep coming back and talking to you. So I found that pretty funny. Shemian, negative-wise for me is Angulo's performance pretty much making up the numbers and poor old Pa having to withdraw. Yeah, it was a shame for Pa having to withdraw for sure. It gave Andy Black an opportunity, and Andy's actually been doing like slightly better than I thought. Not that he's doing fantastic, but for having to jump in at the last second, you got to give him a lot of credit. And I was hoping Angulo would do better. He was on my show very recently, a great guy. Was happy to see he didn't come last on Wrecking Ball because he had come last on all of the events up until then, and I wanted him to leave on a more of a positive note and have something positive to say. They did tell me too, because we were talking in general together about South American strongman and getting it more noticed, because in official strongman games last year, 2021, where Manuel Angulo competed in the Masters class, actually along with Mark Felix, that's the one where Zydrunas Zaviskus won and Ken McClellan came in second. And that's a lot of the controversy. People thought, oh, why didn't one of those two get picked instead? And I can understand being kind of more internationally diverse, but it opened the door, right? He's trying to open the door to South America to get more noticed. And I think Big Loz has said this recently too, and Liz, about there being like legit qualifiers in that area of the world so we can get the very best. Manuel told me that South American strongman has actually been spearheaded by Bolivia, more so than Chile, like more so than any South American country. So perhaps if World's Strongest Man puts in a legit qualifier there, in South America, we may uncover some Bolivian athletes who are a step above. Because Manuel actually did say, in Chile and a lot of South American countries, like we're still catching up to Europe in terms of strength. Like somebody at a lower weight class in Europe would be as strong as somebody at a higher weight class in South America, because we're still catching up. We're newer. But yeah, it'd be interesting to see what we get out of Bolivia or other South American countries if there's a legit qualifier put in place. Yeah, headstrong is composed and confident. Yep, I knew what you meant, Keelan. Can you believe Novikov not being able to train properly and coming in and performing so well? He's unbelievable, especially with what's going on in his country. And for those of you like in other parts of the world, maybe you feel the same. In the U.S., we're very supportive. For the most part, everybody I've talked to, we're very supportive of Ukraine. And I've messaged with him. He's answered me back. I got to tell you, like, how it feels to have a former world's strongest man actually talk to you when you message them. It wouldn't happen to me in any other sport. Like, I always bring up, like, if I DM'd LeBron James, do you think he would answer me? But yeah, I've spoken with Pablo Cordiaca in DMs and Alexi, and it's really crazy. Like when Alexi won Europe's, some of those like quotes that he put out were unbelievable. Where he said, like, usually I train like strongman, now I train like soldier. It really like tugged at your heartstrings, for sure. But he's unbelievable. Like being able to perform this way without even having the the best set of circumstances in any stretch of the imagination is unbelievable. All right, Tony's saying Group 3 results started, so let's have a look there. All right, Group 3. Wrecking Ball hold. We have Rob Kearney, 61.95 seconds. So someone in the comments was talking about Rob was going to go till he passed out and really work really hard at this. Not a top end time, not a terrible time, but not a top end time based on what we've seen from the other guys. Gregor Zemansky doing very well, 106.49 seconds. That's a great time. But Mika Toro beats him, 113.17 seconds. So that's what we have so far in Group 3. Still to go, Trey Mitchell, Adam Bishop, and Alexei Novikov. Again, unless my math is off, please tell me if it is. I think Alexei just has to pick it up and put it down and get his 1 point, and he will have enough to advance. So we should see legitimate efforts from Adam Bishop and Trey Mitchell, but maybe not necessarily Alexei Novikov. But here's your results for Group 3 thus far. Rob Kearney, 61.95 seconds. Gregor Zemansky, 106.49. Mika Toro, 113.17 seconds, which would be a great, great time if Mark Felix hadn't gone before and done something crazy. Yeah, Mark did 140.49 seconds. Sorry for no. Thank you, Lotro. No audio. I was muting because I was coughing. Thank you for letting me know, all of you. Shemian, Tony. Thank you. Hopefully, I didn't say anything too important. Can you hear me now? I think you can. Jimmy hears me. All right, I think I'm back. Sorry, guys. I think I'm back. Let me know if I'm not, but I think I am. Yes. So with Evan, he's had the worst luck at World's Strongest Man. This is 3 years in a row now, right? Wasn't 2020 was the one where everybody and their mother had a bicep injury, and I think he was one of them, if I'm not incorrect. And then last year was the one where he got sick, very similar to how I am right now. And or at least that was the rumor, like he was ill and kind of couldn't perform up to expectations. And then this year again, like having what he described as anaphylactic shock, where he couldn't breathe at all during the loading race, then comes back, has a great car walk, and then log press, doesn't go great. I think he got one rep on the log press. And yeah, I don't know. Like he may just end up as the guy who does fantastically well on every other show. And, Worlds just isn't his deal. I wonder, I don't know. He's so good in everything else that I think they're going to keep inviting him as long as he keeps performing the way he has in other Giants live shows. It's just that unfortunate, the fortune that he's encountered at World's Strongest Man for sure. Gabe Pena too is another one. Because the first time around, didn't he have like the heart issue where he had to go get checked out, and then last year he was cleared to come back, and I believe he was supposed to be a first alternate, from what I was aware, and then wasn't chosen because they weren't positive that he was cleared after all, even though he was cleared or something along those lines. Like they were just trying to be extra careful with his health, with it, which I get, but I think that's one reason why Gabe came in all cylinders firing this year. Like, all right, third year now, like I'm really going to give it my all. And, now his knee's acting up on him. So unfortunately you can't get around those injuries sometimes. Pot of the Hut. What's up, Potta? Always awesome to see you on here. JF would have crushed these events, right? What are they? Yeah, I think so. Deadlift for sure. Car walk, yes. Log, he's not the best at, but you don't have to be the best at every event. Wrecking ball, yes. Yeah, I think he would have. He would have for sure. JF's a good guy. He's been on the show multiple times. I really consider him a friend. I like JF. He's been very welcoming from the first time I ever spoke to him. Told me if you're ever in the area up in Quebec, come by the gym. Like, it's just such a kind guy and so full of knowledge too. All right, Adam Bishop got 131. It's updated. Let's have a look. Yep, it is 1 minute and 31 or 91.35 seconds. The same thing. So that's very, very good for Adam Bishop. Adam is outperforming the past data for sure. So either my algorithm's way off in some way or he's overachieving. So good for Adam. Great to see that. But what do you guys think? Adam Bishop versus Trey Mitchell and Stoneoff. Who wins that? For me, it's a clear answer, but maybe not for everybody. What do y'all think? Jimmy says JF's ahead of schedule and rehab looking great. I agree. Yeah, I saw that recently. He was posting and he told me JF actually, not to brag, but JF came on my show before Laz's and he told me, I asked him about the rehabilitation, and he said he was told 1 year before he can even walk properly, like walk normally, never mind any type of exercise. And he does seem like he's way ahead of that curve based on his recent posts. And I don't know if he'll compete again. I really, frankly, don't care. I just wish the best for him and hope that, everything turns out well. And I'm so happy for him that he's recovering so quickly. It's great. Trey got second in the group. It's definitely over for Bish. I agree. Like, I don't think Adam can beat Trey Mitchell and a Stoneoff. Trey's, like I mentioned earlier when I was listing all the best Atlas Stone lifters, Trey is right up there. So you have Tom Stoltman. Then for me, you have Brian Shaw, Maxine Boudreau, and possibly Martins Licis, with Trey Mitchell nipping at the heels, very close behind that, if not in that group of three guys. Pada says, don't get my hopes up with a JF comeback. I wouldn't get ahead of yourself. Like I said, even though he's ahead of schedule, it's going to take him a while just to be walking properly again. Never mind like deciding if he wants to train to compete again. Like if he does, hey, all glory to him. Definitely will support him wholeheartedly. I just don't know if he wants to do that anymore at this stage. You know, he talked about, I think something similar happened to Big Z, and JF said like, yeah, but he was in his upper 20s when it happened to him. He wasn't my age. It's a different sort of recovery. Keelan says, do you have a favorite strongman who never won the big one? It's for sure JF. I don't have to think twice about that. Absolutely JF Karan, for sure. Yeah, I mean, if you ask people who have been watching for a while, they may have other ones that they think of, but for me, it's for sure JF Karan. Wait, Novikov did a real wrecking ball hold? Really trying? Was I wrong with my math assumptions? Because it looks like Group 3 is totally in right now. So we have Novikov, 98.63 seconds for 3 points. Trey Mitchell ends up winning with 126.46 seconds, 6 points for him. Adam Bishop comes away with 2 points. Man, 91 seconds and he only gets 2 points. That's crazy. Rob Kearney, 61.95 seconds, 1 point for him. So that'll be it for Rob, unfortunately, and Gregors and Mika. Gregor Zemansky gets 4 points, so finishes very strong at World's Strongest Man, but just not enough. And the same Mika Toro, 113.17 seconds, 5 points, finishes very strong as well, but not enough to get the points totals up into a stone off. So it looks like we have Adam Bishop going into a stone off with Trey Mitchell. I'm pretty confident Trey Mitchell's going to win that, and he and Alexei Novikov will go through to the finals. Well, Alexei will definitely go through to the finals. I believe Trey Mitchell will accompany him into the finals. But that's crazy, 91.35 seconds. How does that stack up against the other groups? So in Group 1, that would have got him 5 points. In Group 2, that would have gotten him 5 points. Wow. So Adam Bishop with some bad luck. Some great wrecking ball holders here. Interesting. Got a lot of Trey fans. Trey all day, Trey all day, Trey all day, all day, all day. This should be a new song. Everybody believes Trey is going to win the stone off. No one beats Trey from third place in a stone off. Anybody who just jumped on, if you would please like and subscribe while you're here, share this with everybody you know. That would be wonderful. I really would appreciate that. And if you really, really love what you're watching and want to shoot a super chat over like Jiminy Crickets so generously did before, thank you again, Jiminy Crickets. That would be awesome. I really appreciate that. Trey, lots of Trey fans and twice on Sundays. Funny. He is second. 1%. Yeah. JF Corona's trash. I shouldn't even have put that on the screen. That's got to be a joke. Like, no one could actually believe that. He's talking about going back to squats in 3 to 4 weeks. Like, I'm not an idiot. I understand you don't mean 1,000-pound squats, but squats at all? Wow, that's amazing. Amazing. Bish is no chump at stones. If he goes second, maybe he does have a little hope. Maybe. I don't think so, just because, like I said, you have like 4 guys who are the best stone lifters in the world, and then you have everybody else. And if it was anybody but one of those 4 guys, okay, but yeah, I don't see it. All right, guys. Well, I think I'm going to take a break, go rest my voice. Thank you all for joining me. I think we had a great time together. It's probably going to be a little while before Group 4 starts, and keep watching the results, and maybe I'll see some of you on Laz's show later. So thanks again for joining, and of course, until next time, as always, ciao, homie.